As part of the recently released CIA torture report, we learned that the agency hired psychologists to come up with different torture techniques. Now, when I first read that, I thought, well, that's odd because the techniques aren't new. It's not like they invented the techniques. In fact, a lot of the techniques we know came from an old communist Chinese torture manual. That story came out in 2008 or so. It was one of the first stories that we covered on Secular Talk. So I figured out, when I sat and thought about it, why they really paid these men. And I'll get to that in a second, but first let me give you a breakdown. Daily Beast had an article today as to what these two psychologists spent their money on. Now remember, two psychologists alone were paid $81 million. Again, the techniques already exist. So why are you paying psychologists anything to come up with techniques that already exist? And never mind $81 million. That's what it costs? I mean, fuck, you could find some poor dude in Cleveland who'll just be like, okay, I greenlight that move and that move. It'll be $12.05. I mean, are you kidding me? Of course, we're against torture, but I'm saying if you wanted some sort of justification, you didn't really necessarily need to do that, right? Let me go ahead and tell you exactly what they spent the money on. The Daily Beast describes, quote, records describe a waterfront residence for one of them on 0.6 of an acre and appraised at more than $880,000 with 4,233 square feet of living space, 4 bathrooms, a 3-car garage, a pool, central air conditioning, and a wooded walkway leading to a lakeside combination dock and gazebo. I hope you like that beautiful place you got with that blood money. The other guy is in the state of Washington, situated on 15 acres and appraised at $1.59 million. That's how much this guy's house costs. And records describe this house as 6,916 square feet with 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, an aerial image which shows what appears to be a spa, roiling water, apparently carrying no nasty connotations. Not quite sure what that last sentence means, but there you have it. So the two psychologists had the nerve to release a joint statement, and they said the following, quote, we are proud of the work we have done for our country. Now, here's why they really paid them. To create the veil of respectability and the veil of legality for actions that they knew were illegal. You have to understand, it's documented that this is what happened at the Justice Department as well. What Cheney would do is Cheney would go to a low-level intern to sign off on a torture memo so that then Cheney and Bush can turn around later and Rumsfeld could turn around later and say, well, what do you mean that this is illegal? What do you mean that this is wrong? Here I have a memo from the Justice Department, and the memo says that it's okay. Look, it's from the Justice Department. Now, again, they won't disclose the fact that when they say Justice Department, they mean some random guy who they picked out at the Justice Department with no authority whatsoever, who they got to sign off on it when they basically tricked the guy. This is the same thing with the psychologists. They said, let's pay them $81 million to buy the veil of respectability, as if these were high-minded, enhanced interrogation tactics that psychologists came up with. And everybody knows a psychologist could never do any wrong, so therefore it's okay that we gave people hypothermia and they died, that we did insect torture, that we did rectal feeding. We shoved a tube up somebody's ass and pumped food in there, liquid food. That's called rape where I'm from, if you shove something up somebody's ass without their consent. Are you kidding me? They also did waterboarding. The list goes on and on. We covered in great detail all the different torture tactics that they did. And also, might I add, they didn't work. They didn't work. The CIA report itself admits that there was no actionable intelligence. The only thing that they got from people, they would say whatever they thought the torturers wanted to hear to get them to stop. In fact, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is proof of that. He admitted to stuff he wasn't even involved with because he was continually tortured 183 times. So that's the reality. You pay $81 million to sell out corrupt psychologists so that you can go out and say to the press, well, what do you mean these are bad tactics? We have psychologists who approve them. The veil of respectability, the same way that they did it with the Justice Department. Well, guess what? That doesn't cut it. We're smarter than that. We're better than that. We're above that. We can see through your bullshit. We can see through your lies. We can see that what you did is wrong. And most importantly, as we brought up yesterday and as we brought up every time we discuss this, the issue of torture is not debatable. You have to understand some things, the debate is over. The debate is done. We had the debate. We had the discussion. We did the Geneva Conventions. We signed off on it. We had the Nuremberg tribunals. We have international law. We have U.S. law. The Eighth Amendment protects from cruel and unusual punishment. What part of forced rectal feeding is not cruel and not unusual? It is the definition of both cruel and unusual. So we violated every single kind of law that there is. But what do they say to us? They say, don't worry, it's okay, because we have a couple psychologists that we paid off, which say it's okay.